All right. Episode 32. Took a week off. Got a kid. It's been pretty overwhelming.
Life happens.
Yes, but not much has been happening for the Bears. The offseason's been pretty boring the last few weeks, so it was a good time to just kind of take a break, recharge everything. I posted a lot of clips, and we'll get back into it. Mini camps kicked off. Before we jump into that, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Um, But the last few days, I've been trying to keep up with minicamp, and it's not such good news. Justin Fields hasn't looked too well, they say, the last few days. Darnell Wright hasn't looked very good in shorts. Jalen Johnson is talking about I'm a dad first.
I don't mind that as much.
I mean, obviously we got kids, so I understand. I don't know. I would have to know the circumstances. Like, I don't know. Does he only see his kid on the weekends? I don't know. So I'm not going to get too into it with him. But it was just interesting that he had to say that they were questioning him. Or
Well, he's also had, he was, from what I understand, he was like 15 of 18 today. But like you said, there's been a couple of throws in OTAs that have kind of just been like, why? But then, of course, there's been those throws that have been absolutely amazing. Like today, there was a corner route to DJ Moore on the left side of the field. It was an absolutely perfect pass right above the outstretched hands of Jalen Johnson, like you said. The defenses look good from what I gather. We're not still very deep, but there's a couple of good quotes from the defensive players for the Bears. I mean, you got the trash talking already starting with Jones saying that Packers fans are shitty and they don't know a damn thing about football. You have DeMarcus Walker talking about, last year being last year, who gives a fuck? Those were his exact words, and that's what you want to hear. The defense has been impressive in OTA so far. I mean, it concerns me a little bit. Chase Claypool still dealing with injuries, and these are the opportunities that you need if you're a wide receiver like Chase Claypool, who really doesn't have that much under his belt to, you know, gain that traction with Justin Fields, and he's just not doing it.
yeah, that's kind of sucks for him. Like you said, this is the time to make it happen. Tyler Scott seems to be impressing a lot of people. I feel like Velus Jones, haven't heard anything from him.
I haven't either.
I'm guessing he's cut. We didn't re-sign. Well, we re-signed Anthony Pettis, right? And
Yeah, Dante Pettis and
yeah,
ESB.
Anthony Pettis. Yeah, so it's like I'm guessing Velus Jones is going to be the odd man out. Pettis returns punts. Anybody can return kicks. It's not that big of a deal. So it just seems like he's getting cut. Claypool needs the ball out. He's in a contract year. We traded a second for him, so we obviously want to see him out on the field producing.
Rashawn Johnson's look good.
Yeah.
The connection from Justin Fields to DJ Moore has been real. A lot of people are talking about that already. Just talking about how special that connection is going to be. I think ESPN had them ranked in the top 5 in terms of new quarterback wide receiver connections. There's also, the spitball talk about the whole Stephon Diggs and Buffalo, not really happy up there. His agent says he's at training camp. The team saying he's not. Didn't he just signed a new deal in the offseason last year, and now he wants a new deal again? Like,
I'm really confused about it as well. Like what the hell does he want? What does he just want to be on the Chiefs? Like, really, like, there's nowhere better to go. Like, you're on a team where he's like second, doesn't he? Like, he's top like 3 to 5 in targets and catches. So it's like you're obviously getting the targets. He's just not happy with the outcome, is my guess. But it's like, okay, so what do you want to go on the Chiefs? Like, you go be on the Bengals? Like, there's only like 2 other teams you might be able to land on, and they already got number 1 wide receivers. Well, I guess the Chiefs don't, but they don't. They seem to content not to do it with one.
yeah, I don't get it either. I know the Bears have a couple days left, and then they get 40 days of break for summer, before training camp actually starts. Then from training camp right into the preseason. like you said, there's no pads, so you can't really. It's hard to judge. I'm not gonna sit here and say that anybody looks great or anybody looks bad because there are no, um, they're not in pads, man. They're in shorts, so you can't really make that
Yeah,
determination.
especially with
You
the
know
O
what I'm saying?
line.
Yeah, it's just it wide receivers, defensive players, anything like that.
The
You
only
can't
person I would
really
be a little
judge.
concerning about is Joseph Fields, just because throwing should be easier in shorts. Throwing and
Yeah,
catching and all that should be
making
easier.
reads.
Yeah, but a lot of new moving parts. Usually, the defense is a little ahead of the offense at this point in time. But I just have a lot of faith in Justin Fields. He seems like he's been working. That's all you ever hear about him. Seems like I don't know when I see him talk and I hear him when he's mic'd up. It just to me just seems like he's going to be a future like face of the NFL, not just our franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it's work, work, work. His work ethic is extremely high, and that's what you want to see. But at the same time, yeah, like you said, it is a little concerning because with the throwing, it should be a lot easier without any pads on when you're just in shorts and a t-shirt and a helmet. His throwing motions change too, so maybe he's still adjusting to that. That could be a factor. Um, like you said, Darnell Wright. I mean, when you're when you're not in pads, it's everybody's fast, so it's kind of hard to judge, especially with a rookie offensive tackle. It's kind of hard to judge somebody based, coming off the line with no pads on because everybody's quicker.
Yeah, and you're
So
just trying not to hurt anybody. So it's
yeah,
like
like you're kind of going through the
the
motions.
DN's kind of got the advantage if he's really trying to get after it.
I'm not looking too much into any of this stuff. We'll see what happens in training camp. We'll see what happens in preseason and the limited action that they will get. Um, we still don't have another defensive ends. We still haven't
That's
signed one in free agency. We haven't done any of that. And a couple of those big names are off the board. Frank Clark signed somewhere. I forgot where he signed. Um, there was another one that signed with like New England or some shit. Sounds like New England's also gonna get
D Hop.
DeAndre Hopkins. Um, that Bill O'Brien remarriage. We'll see how that works out.
I didn't
They
even think
say there's
about
no
that.
bad. They say there's no bad blood, but I mean, you have Bill Belichick as your head coach. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he's gonna nip that in the bud and just make sure that's completely gone. Um, I'll tell you what, man. There hasn't been a buzz like this in a while in terms of just overall excitement for the Bears. A little bit of tidbit, a little bit of side note, since we weren't able to talk about this last week, since we didn't have one, is that the Chicago Bears say that Arlington Heights is no longer their sole focus. Is it a tactic to get Cook County to reduce the tax assessment that they had on that property so they don't have to pay a whole bunch of taxes? Probably, but a couple of cities have already thrown their name in the hat. Obviously, Kevin Warren had a meeting with the mayor of Naperville. The mayor of Waukegan sent the Chicago Bears an official letter, pretty much telling them that they have, some lots of land that they can go ahead and build a new stadium on, blah, 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 blah. It's in Lake County, which is also where Hallis Hall is located at.
Oh,
And a
yeah.
lot of the players live up there in like Lake Forest and, things like that. So Waukegan's a name to look out for. But what do you think of that news? Arlington Heights no longer being the sole
I'm a.
focus.
I think it's obviously a ploy to get everybody to reach into their pockets. I Arlington Heights makes the most sense. It's already like built out, kind of how they want it to be. They'll like I don't know. I just Waukegan doesn't. I don't. I just I don't know. It'd be weird for the Bears to be in Waukegan. Even Naperville. I don't. Us being so close to me, particularly being so close to Naperville, I just can't envision where it would be at. Um, like I can envision like room for a field and maybe like a parking lot, but like what about all the other stuff you're gonna need surrounding it? And that's more and but that's why I think it's gonna be in Arlington Heights because that's honestly more important than the field and they want to build a spectacle, you know what I mean, with a sports book in there and room for hotels to be surrounding it and room for other stuff to be around it because they're gonna they're trying to build like a little small little town type of thing where they can make a whole bunch of money and host a Super Bowl and things like that. And so they needed to be somewhere where there's some hotels or some stuff they can put up in Arlington Heights with the racetrack being there. They're kind of already set up for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's like you said, it's more than just a stadium.
Yeah.
It's everything that comes along with it. Uh, I, I mean, the Cook County tax assessor completely fucked them on that deal. Plus, we have to remember Kevin Warren's now stepped in, right? Kevin Warren had nothing to do with the purchase of the Arlington Heights property. That happened before Kevin Warren was even considered to take over as the president of the Chicago Bears. It was still Ted Phillips and all that when that happened. So now that Kevin Warren is involved, he will look at every available option, whether it be Naperville, whether it be Plainfield, whether it be Waukegan, whether it be, like he's gonna access every option he's had. There was one parcel of land they were talking about in Naperville. It was off of like I-55 somewhere. And like you said, I don't see it. I don't
Don't
know
see
where they're
like
gonna.
yeah for them to build like a. I'm assuming they want to build something kind of like what Jerry built, not maybe not the huge dome, but and the huge screen, but like just a whole monster, like a whole like a grand hotel type of thing. Um, I for the life of me, I'm confused why the city's always like playing hardball and fucking them on tax deals. It's like, don't you guys want them there? Like the Bears have to generate like $1 billion for the surrounding community and everybody as it pertains to
Yeah,
hotels, people eating out because they went to the game, people drinking that night because they went to the game.
it's not even just the games either. When you have a dome stadium like that, you can have different kinds of events that's not during the football season. You can have concerts, you can have NCAA tournaments, you can have just you can have all that kinds of stuff. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just strictly related to Chicago Bears football. And that's, like you said, billions of dollars in revenue for whatever town is going to be lucky enough to have that and call that home. So
Yeah, I'm not super political, but as I get older, and I've always heard it as we were growing up how corrupt Chicago was, but now like I don't even know anything in particular. It just seems like because like it's the Bears, the city should be jumping through hoops to do whatever the Bears need to do. They need a bigger stadium. We should have had one a long time ago. Like it should never even have been a thing that we were arguing of the city about. Like whatever the Bears need, they get. And the mayor, especially Lori's like, oh, you guys should focus on playoffs. Well, I was like, yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how bad we are. The Bears make the city so much money. It doesn't matter. They shouldn't be worried about how many games the Bears win anyway.
yeah, and that's just
And now we've lost it in the city, and it's going to go somewhere else. And it's like
eh,
now
the
they're not
city of
even treating
Chicago
around.
has yeah the city of Chicago has nobody to blame but themselves. Like
Yes,
they just don't.
they could have done. They could have bit the bullet 5 years ago and added the seats to make it
Yeah,
100,000 and it just been done with it. Like instead of being like, oh, well, this is also the city's field, blah blah blah, yada yada. It's like they played hardball and it didn't work. And it's like the Bears are one of the most like one of the, they have to be top five for sure, top 10, like franchises, American franchises at least. How like in value, and they're playing games with them like, oh, go, we don't need you. We'll just start another team. And it's like that's not going to happen.
yeah, I find it absolutely ridiculous and just absurd that the city of Chicago let probably their most valuable asset just walk out the door because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Over what? Too like 30,000 seats and some turf. Like, and it's not, it wasn't even like some ridiculous thing. Like, we just needed like 30 to 50,000 more seats, and I'm assuming people were complaining about the field. I mean, they have been my whole life, but something like that. Like, they should have just sold the field to the Bears and then rented it out for the stuff they needed it for, or something. I just they. It's sad to see them leave the city of Chicago and Soldier Field. We've been there so many times and watched so many games there, but we need to like get with the times as not only on the field but off the field as well. And that it starts like with off the field.
Yeah, and and like I said, man, it's just when the field actually does get done, when the stadium does get done, it's going to be so weird just watching the game on Sundays or going to the game, whatever we decide to do, and it's something completely different. It's no longer Soldier Field. It's whatever it's going to be,
Uh,
probably Rivers Casino Field or something. It's going to
oh
be
yeah,
there's
something
gonna be
sport,
some,
something
yeah,
sports
some
book.
sports book related, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's Amazon Fields,
Oh
you know,
man.
with Jeff
Well, doesn't
Bezos.
he already own it? Does he own a team yet?
I don't know.
No,
No,
that's
he doesn't own a
Walmart.
team yet.
It's Walmart. Well, the guy from
Yeah,
Walmart,
that's
the Broncos.
Walton, the
Yeah,
Walton family.
I know they were
Um,
talking. Amazon was trying to buy somebody. I think Seattle, was it Seattle? I don't know. I can't remember. They were trying to buy somebody. Maybe it was a basketball team.
but yeah, it's just it's gonna be weird. It's gonna, you know, have a little bit of an adjustment period. But you know, growing up when we were younger, the change from Comiskey Park to U.S. Cellular, I'll still call it Comiskey. I don't
Yeah, but
call
the
it
field,
Cellular.
but like it still was the same place though, in the same parking lot, in the same seats.
Well, in the early '90s when they tore down old Comiskey
Oh
and
yeah, I can't
rebuilt
remember
new
that one.
Comiskey, I mean, it was like right across the parking lot.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It didn't move, but it was a new stadium per se. You know, it was torn down, rebuilt new, and things of that nature. So I mean, that was a little bit different, but um, it's just for me as a Bears fan, I'm just it's one of those things where the nostalgia will play a factor in it, but at the same time, it's it's exciting because at least it's something new. You know,
yeah,
we've been so you know, harped up on these owners about spending money and doing this, and here we have an owner now that is spending money to at least try to change the culture and the change
yeah,
the way they do business, where we're going to be putting in hundreds of $1 million into a stadium, and we hire the right people, at least we think so far, with Kevin Warren and, you know,
Ryan
Ryan
Paul.
Poles. So we're hoping and praying that, you know, this is something new. Maybe the rest of the Chicago owners need to take notice. I know Tom Ricketts is kind of doing some things, even though some of the decisions that the Cubs have made lately in terms of lineups and, you know, things like that, it just seems like they're trying to tank. But at least ownership is, you know, they they need to start kind of going in the Chicago Bears direction of, hey, let's just spend money.
Yeah.
We're the third largest market in the United States. What the fuck are we doing?
Hey, yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, we've done what 30 episodes, and I'd probably say about 20 of them. I've said that about the Bulls. And for the life of me, I just don't understand why Jerry's so cheap. Now the luxury tax really changed, so it's really not smart to do it. But he wasted a good 10 or 15 years where going into the luxury tax wouldn't hurt you that much as long as you were making the playoffs and winning a round or two.
Yeah.
And he never did it, and now it's not an option. And now the Bulls are just now we're in the era too where like nobody ever becomes a free agent. So it's like it's not even an option to get free agents now. So you got to have assets, but they traded all their assets away. So, the Bulls. I don't really want to go to it. There's nothing to
Yeah,
talk about in there
don't even get me
right
started on
now.
that. We don't have enough time, man.
But speaking of money, the Bears. What do they got? 33 million in cap space still to spend,
Yes.
something like that. So we have to get at the end, like you said, 40. They're about to go on a 40-day break here soon. I'm envisioning that within those 40 days, we sign Ngakwe or we trade for Daniil Hunter or um, Chase Young. I mean, we really have no other option but to do it now at this point. I mean, we have to spend the money. I'm guessing guys are going to get re-signed too. We were saying I think Cole Kmet's going to get re-signed, but I mean, what's that going to be? $7-8 million a year, so it's not going to really eat up too much of that 32. I don't think they're in a position to re-sign Claypool or Mooney right now. Why even risk it?
I don't think they're going to re-sign Jalen Johnson, at least until after the season.
No,
It
I
just
think
doesn't
they're
seem
going to
like they're
wait.
going that way.
Yeah, I think they're going to
Yeah.
wait now. I think for what I have been hearing at OTAs, they like the young DBs. They all been
Yeah. Tyreek Stevenson's been a baller. And that kid, Terrell Smith from
yeah.
Minnesota, that they got in like the 6th round or some shit.
Yeah.
He's really been doing some
Yeah.
things.
So I think I agree with you that they're going to let Jalen Johnson simmer for a little bit. I like him though. I think he's a strong, like crappy number one corner, solid number two. But I think he makes plays. I think if he doesn't have to guard Justin Jefferson and guys like that all by himself, I think he's just fine. Um, but I agree with you. I don't think he'll be getting re-signed. I thought before this, all the stuff happened with him not showing up, I thought he would be getting a new deal. But I think Komet is for sure. That's coming real soon. Um, I don't think Mooney or Claypool will now. I've been Tyler Scott's been getting a lot of praise, and we already got DJ Moore, so there's no need to pull the trigger on Mooney or Claypool. I'm assuming they're going to let them duke it out. whoever stays the healthiest or is the most productive is going to get their deal, and the other one's going to be a free agent. So I don't know where we're going to spend this money. Even if we got Ngakwe, what's he get? 10 million a year?
Yeah, probably
Like we
anywhere from 10 to 13.
um. So I really think it's got to be somebody like we. It has to be a trade for somebody who's good and wants a new deal, so we can kind of, you know what I mean. When we re-sign them, it'll restructure or whatever. Um, I didn't last time we talked. Really, not even all of the offseason and the draft and all that. Hunter really hasn't been on the block. No, I haven't heard. We haven't heard anything about the Vikings and Daniil Hunter. I think that's an interesting person the Bears can go after. We be taken away from a division foe. Um, so that'll keep Justin Fields upright, and we'll be able to get after the quarterback. He's a lot better than I remembered. He's a lot healthier than I thought too. He missed the whole season there randomly, but he's been pretty healthy, playing almost every game a lot of the seasons. So I'm intrigued with the Bears taking a stab at him, but I really think we should get Chase Young. I just have a feeling he's going to be
He's
good.
been, yeah, and Daniil Hunter throughout his career
It's good.
has been an absolute beast, dude.
Yes.
Like he's been an absolute monster, and that was one that I was looking at when I first heard the name. I was just like, he's a wait, like he's available. I know Minnesota's kind of doing their thing. I know they cut Dalvin Cook, and they're trying to get younger and stuff like that, but I was not expecting Daniil Hunter because that's a very, very, very good player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just, yeah, I was kind of shocked by that, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest.
Yeah. I think we have to pull the trigger on him or Chase Young. I don't.
We have to do something. We can't sit here. We cannot sit and go into the season with what we have at rush, only because we were so bad at the position last year and we had absolutely no pressure. Like, could you just imagine how our defensive secondary and how our linebackers and defense in general would have looked with some just little bit of an
Yeah.
inkling of a pass rush? Like,
Somebody.
oh my goodness, we could have been a decent. I'm not even gonna say decent. We could have been a much better defense than what we were. I know they're counting on Travis Gibson and Robinson and stuff like that to improve, but at the same time, with what they showed last year, Robinson had one sack last year. It was the first game of the season. Sure, it was against future Hall of Famer. If he were to retire today, he'd be a Hall of Famer tomorrow, Trent Williams. But he had one sack the whole
Yeah.
year, and it was the first game of the season.
I've never liked Gibson either. I don't. I really want
I
Chase
don't
Young.
see what the hype is with him. He's a big guy. He's a big cat,
I think
but
they're
you
both
just
good DNs, but I think they're more run stoppers than getting after the quarterback. I think they're more maybe edge setters and
well,
things like
Travis
that.
Gibson to me seems more like he's like a 3-4 outside linebacker kind of a run stuffer, like one
Yeah.
of those guys,
Sets
not
the
so
edge,
much a
setting the
yeah,
edge.
100%. And we have a couple of those guys already. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to stop the run. I get it. You want to stop the run. That's a very important part of defense and controlling the clock. But in today's NFL, you have to have a defensive line that can get after the quarterback. When you have guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen dropping back and throwing the ball 45 to 50 times a game, Joe Burrow, um, Justin Herbert, fuck, even Kirk Cousins, people in your own division are Jared Goff, they're throwing the ball 35, 40, 45 times a game.
Yeah.
You have to get after the quarterback. You just have to. You can't expect your defensive back to hold guys and stay on the routes for 5 seconds. Otherwise, any quarterback in the league, whether it could be Baker Mayfield, and he will carve you up. You can't let that happen.
Yeah. Well, anything else? I know it's like I said, quiet week. We're not going to try and drag on too much until we get some more news. There'll be some. I'm
Yeah, there
guessing.
hasn't been much. Uh,
Yeah, unless
the
some.
NBA draft is in a week. The Bulls don't have a first round pick. The NHL draft is in 12 days. The Blackhawks have 8 picks, including the number one overall pick. We all know who that's going to be. We'll do some coverage on that when it actually
Yeah,
happens. Baseball not doing too well. Sox have played themselves into like 6 games back of the division, but it's a shitty division. I really don't have any high hopes for them. They got absolute Lance Lynn is a fucking fat, disgusting piece of shit. And he's just, giving up 2-run bombs in the first inning of games. And dude, as a Sox fan, I'm just embarrassed. I feel for you Cubs fans. You guys had such a hot start to the season, and now you guys are just being drugged down because you have no talent on that offensive side, with the bat. You have a guy who was hitting like 151 in the minors. They brought him up to start him at fucking DH tonight. Like, that there's something wrong there. If you're batting 151 in AAA and you're being brought up to the majors to hit fucking DH, something's up. And the Sox don't have anything better to speak about. I mean, Tim Anderson, what we talked about Tim Anderson trading him in the offseason, in the offseason before the season even started, with Tim Anderson, continued to be a Chicago White Sox. I'll tell you what, Tim Anderson's playing himself out of Chicago right now. He's playing absolutely terribly, and he doesn't like the criticism. He doesn't like being called out that he's playing terribly, but he is, and
Yeah,
that's
he
just
does.
facts.
He does. He definitely does. He never has.
So, I mean, it's business. The White Sox problem now is that they don't have a farm system. They're going to have to start dealing some of their high price pieces in order to get some farm pieces back. You can deal Anderson, you can deal Moncada. You're paying Moncada $75 million or whatever it is. You're paying Tim Anderson a decent chunk of change. You could probably get some, good farm prospects for him, as well as Yohan Moncada still, because Yohan Moncada's still young. Well, young-ish. Eloy can't stay on the field. The $75 million man that you signed at Andrew Benintendi this offseason still doesn't have a fucking home run. I could go on a 45-minute rant about the White Sox, but
And we
this
will.
is
We
the
will
Angry
eventually.
Bears fan
Yeah.
podcast right now, not the Angry Sox fan
Yeah.
podcast, which,
Maybe that'll be an
maybe,
add-on. I
maybe,
was going to say
maybe
maybe
we'll
an
do
add-on to the channel.
that. So,
All right.
yeah.
Like I said, a nice quick one. We'll try and make these next 2, 3, 4 quick until training camp starts, and then we'll really ramp up. By that time, the NBA almost be back. Baseball be in the playoffs. But all right, it was fun. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you soon.
All right. See you soon.
Adios.